The Shadow of the Soul, a journey of the Jinn in the love of God, with the patron of wisdom, His Eminence Sheikh Ibrahim al-Imam.
Have you ever felt totally crushed under the weight of your past mistakes? Like you're walking around carrying this invisible, incredibly heavy backpack? It really makes you wonder, why do we so often associate the idea of repentance with fear, or heavy guilt, or just this exhausting, dreaded obligation? Why don't we see it for what it truly is? The absolute best, and honestly, the only gateway to real joy and psychological peace. Welcome to our explainer today. I am so excited to dive into this topic with you. In today's analysis, we're going to unpack this exact concept from our source material. Our main focus today is answering the question, why is repentance the path to happiness? Or, as the core concept beautifully puts it in Arabic, لماذا تعد التوبة طريق السعادة? We're going to map out exactly how turning back is actually a complete liberation from your burdens, not just a set of new restrictions. We've brought together texts, reflections, and historical stories to draw a precise map of this journey. This map shows us exactly how leaving our burdens behind and getting rid of all that spiritual baggage leads us straight to ultimate psychological and spiritual peace. Now, what I found truly amazing while reviewing these sources is that we aren't just talking about abstract ideas here. We are looking at very practical steps and a deep understanding of ourselves. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together. To make this journey super clear, we've broken our presentation down into 5 main stations. We'll move step by step. We'll start by diagnosing the spiritual problem in disease of the hearts, then walk through the door of mercy. After that, we'll look at the practical side and conditions and rights, see how abandonment turns into compensation, and finally arrive at the ultimate payoff, ultimate rest. All right, let's jump right in. Station number 1, the disease of hearts and the illusion of arrogance. You see, to truly understand happiness, we first have to identify the main barrier blocking us from it. And the surprise here? This barrier doesn't usually come from the outside. It hides quietly right inside our own ego. This beautiful quote from Sheikh Ibrahim al-Imam illustrates this perfectly. It translates to, "The heart is the place of God's gaze upon people." So what does this actually mean for us? Simply put, God focuses on the state of our hearts, not our outward appearances or the masks we wear. If there's any sickness, grudge, or arrogance in there, it automatically blocks our ability to find true comfort and a pure connection with the Creator. Real happiness absolutely begins with a healthy, pure heart. Okay, let's dive into this definition a bit more. Arrogance isn't just a bad personality trait. It is a destructive spiritual disease. It tricks a person into feeling superior to everyone else, kind of like a peacock. And this illusion creates a profound, harsh isolation from the rest of humanity, blinding the heart to the truth that we are all completely equal before God. Just imagine the sheer psychological exhaustion of someone constantly trying to prove they are better than others. It's a massive burden that drains the soul. Curing yourself of this arrogance is your very first step toward happiness. Let's pivot now to our second station, the door of mercy that never closes. Now that we've diagnosed the illness, let's look at the emotional turning point of our journey, where hope completely shatters that terrible spiritual isolation. What's really interesting here is this profound story from the book Shadow of the Soul. It sets a majestic scene with the scholar al-Shibli, who was secluded in an abandoned mosque in Kufa. In the dead of night, the silence is broken by a weak, broken voice asking him, "Oh Imam, does God's forgiveness cover someone who spent 1,000 years leading people astray?" Imagine that. This was a jinn who spent a whole millennium in misguidance, but finally found the courage to ask for a way back, searching for the true happiness he lost in his rebellion. The comforting answer he received is honestly mind-blowing. It tells us that the vastness of forgiveness isn't measured by our human concept of time. 1,000 years of being lost literally evaporates in a single second when it meets boundless divine love. This deep understanding wipes out any shred of despair that might be standing between you and your happiness. The crucial point here is absolutely liberating. There is no sin greater than divine mercy. Moving right along to Station 3, conditions of repentance and restoring rights. Feeling hopeful is wonderful, for sure. But as we move forward, achieving true happiness requires some concrete, practical steps. Dr. Ahmed El-Imam emphasizes in the sources that the steps of sincere repentance begin with true regret, finding a righteous guide, and a firm resolve not to return to the mistake. But pay attention here, because he focuses on something absolutely crucial. All this regret and resolve must culminate in the 4th step, which is returning the rights of others. Why? Because while God's rights are based on pure forgiveness, the rights of other people don't just magically disappear. They must be actively restored to those you wronged. To put that into perspective, imagine this terrifying comparison between worldly bankruptcy and spiritual bankruptcy. Many of us think a bankrupt person is just someone who lost their money. But true, catastrophic bankruptcy is showing up on Judgment Day with a massive balance of prayers and fasting, thinking you're totally safe, only to find out you are completely broke. Why? Because you didn't return the rights or dignity of the people you hurt. Your good deeds are literally taken to pay off your moral debts to others. Your psychological peace today and in the future demands that you don't carry the burden of having wronged someone. Free yourself from this weight today so you can truly be happy. Let's transition to our fourth station, from abandonment to divine compensation. Returning rights, leaving your ego behind, and resisting desires might sound incredibly difficult, almost like a huge sacrifice. And honestly, it is. But taking these tough steps leads directly to a divine compensation that is beyond imagination. Let's look at the historical journey of Suhaib al-Rumi, as noted in the sources. This man is an amazing practical model for anyone seeking the truth. He escaped a life of complete material comfort, giving up the wealth he worked so hard to build just to buy his spiritual freedom. He used his intellect, defied all the dangers and threats from Quraysh just to follow the light. He proved to all of us that willingly giving up worldly illusions for the sake of the truth is the absolute highest level of freedom and happiness. So the deciding factor here is captured perfectly in this timeless golden rule. Whoever leaves something for God, God replaces it with something better. Trust me on this. Whenever you sacrifice your pride, a fleeting desire, unjust money, or even temporary comfort for the sake of doing the right thing, the compensation is always far greater and far more beautiful. The happiness you are searching for lies exactly in this divine replacement that fills your heart with an unmatched tranquility. Which brings us to our fifth and final destination, repentance, the path to ultimate rest. We've finally reached the destination we've been heading towards since the very beginning. This is where all that sincere effort and letting go of the ego translates into profound psychological relief. The sources give us this incredible metaphor called repentance of the fire, representing beings of fire which we can easily apply to ourselves. It represents extinguishing the burning flame of our earthly desires and our inflated, burning ego. When these destructive fires are put out inside us, we return to our natural state of peaceful surrender. The sources actually call this ultimate rest. So you see, repentance isn't a ritual of sadness, it's shutting off the constant, exhausting noise in your soul and transitioning into endless calm, peace, and happiness. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, deep question to think about. We've seen today how arrogance sickens our hearts, how the door of mercy is infinitely open, how leaving things for the sake of God brings much greater rewards, and how extinguishing the fire of our desires gives us ultimate rest. Repentance, in all its details, is literally your only path to pure happiness. So if 1,000 years of wandering can be forgiven in a second, what is stopping your moment of happiness from beginning today? I invite you to drop those heavy burdens right now and take that first beautiful step into your own tranquility. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I'll see you next time as we explore even more profound insights.